Put them on
Mike's
there.
on.
Hello?
And up. Up's on. Up's on. That's right.
Hello, hello.
Am I visible?
Lindsay's always right there, front and center.
The only person not visible.
I can't see Tim.
The camera's to touch.
Carson, how are you?
I'm doing very well.
Good.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Tell me whenever we're ready.
Where's Carson? He's too skinny. Oh.
I can see myself.
Oh.
Made my arm.
You got him.
There you go.
All right. There you go. Let's see. All right, let me turn this phone off because I have a bad feeling.
Mr. Carson.
That's Miss Bennett. She looks like she's in high school.
Young.
Yeah.
We're trying.
You're
I
young.
thought-
I know.
She was in high school when
All
I
right.
first started.
All right, we ready? I'd like to welcome everyone this evening to the February 22nd Board of Directors meeting at James Island Charter High School. I'd like to ask everyone at this time, please rise and say pledge allegiance and stand for a moment of silence, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I believe the first item tonight is an approval of the agenda. Could I have a motion for the agenda to be approved, please? Motion. Can I have a second, please?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Moving ahead, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the January 25th meeting. Again, there's a copy, I believe, next to you, Ms. Jones, next to your agenda tonight. Give everyone a moment or two to look over those minutes.
How do we get Miss Bennett's vote?
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from January 25th, please?
Motion.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I heard her.
Okay. Ms. Stone, do we have any public comments? Does anyone?
Yeah.
All right.
So the comments are right here. I did an email blast today just because the link wasn't working properly. The access permission was not correctly set for that form, so I had to adjust that. And we had, I want to say, about 13, no, 15 responses, pardon me. And I shared this with the board this afternoon. It goes until 4:30, so it was a last second thing. But you can read the comments. I'll make it bigger so you can see. Try and make it bigger. So we're getting feedback that here, saw that word rather than July.
Gotcha. So, everybody's turned off mics, but still you're talking, still everything's not happening.
Actually, that's not.
Yeah, no one wants to do it. Talking and then the feedback that's coming in from the Senate, that might be bouncing back. But y'all are not moving and I'm using my real time microphone access on there, so that should be calling it.
We reading those?
I can't see.
Because you have 15 minutes live, you have 2 minutes of comments, and that's normally when we have public comment.
Oh, it's kind of hard to follow that.
You can read it, but you don't have to make
This is about people putting a stop sign by the gym, I believe. We do that. School 5 days a week. But us aligning with Charleston County 5 days a week. Concerned parent. Oops.
Yeah, it's hard to follow that.
Yeah, well.
Can you scroll down to that next comment about, is anything being done to help the visual? Right, I didn't catch all that one. So I think after this one, after the one you're working on there. Okay, right there. I see that there was a question about it, the ingenuity,
Ingenuity.
right? And I also have, okay. Is this a time to ask questions specifically about how, what a typical day, like for example, I'm seeing that, does that mean that 70 students are being taught in the ingenuity program only, or is that a remediation program?
Well, when we advertised the virtual academy, we put out there which classes were being taught which way. So that happened in August, late August, September. Most of the CP classes were going to be taught through Edgenuity with teachers using Canvas to zoom in and to connect with the kids, to at least connect with kids and help them more as a tutor or as a guide. And that's how it was advertised. Honors, we have certain sections that are actually being taught as virtual sections on their own. So that's distance learning. So we use the term asynchronous and synchronous when we define these classes. And basically in-sync means in person, or I mean live. Asynchronous means that it's not live. So then you have some honors classes that are actually, all the kids are in the virtual academy. It's being taught like a distance learning class via Zoom, testing going on. And then when it comes to AP, IB, and even dual enrollment, that those kids were combined in with the in-person kids. So they're attending remotely while the other kids are attending on their hybrid days. And that's just because the specialization of those teachers and certification and the enrollment numbers dictate we can only offer that many sections of the class.
Okay.
And so how each teacher operates in Ingenuity is a little bit different from department to department. The first thing I would do is recommend is talking to how they reach out to the teacher, the instructor, and then if not, go from there to guidance counselor or admin.
So am I understanding that the Ingenuity classes are primarily for the virtual academy and that the parents are aware that that Ingenuity is part of their curriculum, that that's what's being used?
That's what was put in the description when you signed on for the virtual academy. Yes. And if you're having issues, you should reach out to the teacher first. And obviously the Wednesday e-learning day is the periods are 45 minutes long. So many classes just keep on teaching. Some do SEL, some just do kind of check-ins. Certainly that time on Wednesdays and also Wednesday afternoons are meant for potential student teacher conference times.
I understand.
So,
Okay.
so just, reach out to the school and work through on a case-by-case basis, of course. All right.
What in the world?
So we're getting
So
different
what's
point.
that last, I urge the board to consider maintaining current COVID-19 safety measures.
I would interpret that to mean to maintain 6-foot distancing between desks, probably. Based on the context of the survey that was sent out to parents that we're going to review during this meeting, which you've all it's been shared with you multiple times now. The idea that if we were to bring back kids 4 days a week and to any who want that, like other schools in CCSE that are doing that, you have to go back to a regular class size as best you possibly can. So then when we put in there directly, it would reduce the distance between desks from 6 feet down to 3 feet.
Can you, that number 12, can you put that back in the beginning of that in particular? Yes, I would, if somebody would.
We have made it this far and things are going to get better. They aren't better yet. I urge the board to consider maintaining current COVID safety measures.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. That helps a lot when you read those.
Should do everyone.
Yeah, well, as a family, considers the best high school experience for a rising ninth grader, can the board speak to the school climate and future plans to open the building next year 5 days a week? With school choice approaching, the current status of JICHS does not appeal to our family, but wishfully thinking things will be different in the fall to encourage a high school experience for all students diverse.
Okay. Quite a few comments this week.
I have 2 ninth graders and would like them to have more frequent in-school days. Twice a week is not enough. Thank you. I would first like to say thank you to the board and the leadership team for hearing the responsive voices of the parents and communities. Swift action taken in the past month has been a welcome reassurance and that there is a desire to meet the needs of the students on this island. I understand that this does not come without strife and discord among faculty and staff. For that, I am sorry. My plea tonight is that, sorry, scroll down. My plate tonight is that in the coming days of the preparation to bring students back on campus, initial plans are put into place to be mindful of the students' social and emotional well-being and to rebuild the climate of the campus. As students have been out of normal school routine for a year now, so much has changed for them as well. Once engaged and active learners may have now become disengaged and affective. Once driven students with future goals in mind now lost hope in what they feel and can be obtained. Once social engagement students may now be withdrawn and reclusive. These issues among many others, are some of the,
It's a long one.
sorry.
Yeah, long one.
I know, when I hit the button, it's the wrong one always. This is a long one, sorry. I know, I'm like trying to not go all the way past it, but.
It looks like, I did see my name in there, so I must have spoke. No.
Thank you.
Okay.
There we go. Once engaged, active learners may now be disengaged and active. Once students driven with future goals in mind may now have lost hope.
Yeah, this one came in 5:30.
These issues, among others, are some of the effects that educators may see play out, as well as being made attempts to reconnect with kids. It is why it is crucial not only to allow kids back on campus for a normal schedule and to work to restore their sense of community and belonging at JICHS. We know that the school is nothing more than a building and empty halls without a thriving student body. As a parent, teacher, and community member, I have been confident informed that kids would rather stay home because the school seems like such a graveyard on campus. Bringing them back together will change this mindset and help the administration and teachers make initial efforts. After having great discussion with the chairwoman, Melanie Millard, she questioned whether or not my own kids, a senior and sophomore, will be willing to come back with a few questions for the student survey and effort to hear from the students. I will have to say I was blown away with the engagement to have a voice. They, sorry, scrolling down. The questions flowed from their lips so fast I could barely keep from writing them down. I share this with you to give you a glimpse of what kids want and need, and they need to be checked on. To have a voice and to let others know that they are not alone in the struggle with managing the struggles of online school. This is not unique to just our community, but great concern among educators, pediatricians, psychologists, parents across the country. And since Chairwoman Millard, a tool that has been used here at CCSD as we across the country to survey parents, students, and teachers to have a better understanding of these effects of the pandemic on our learning and how they are handling it. It is an incredible free resource. In closing, my hope is that in a few months left in the school year, JICS can welcome kids back on campus, engage your students, foster their engagement with others, be in tune with God, be in tune with those that may be hurting and struggling, and think outside of the box to plan on campus opportunities to reignite school spirit. Make them feel welcome. Let's rise above the pandemic and show them that we can create an environment at JICS in spite of plexiglass and protocols that they will want to be in to learn. The educators that have worked hard all year only welcoming students back and working to engage with them. I say thank you and keep smiling. Keep having those masks. Kids know when they are wanted.
Wow. Okay. That was our last one, I'm guessing. That's 5:30.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, there's definitely a comment driven group out there now with what's going on, I think, with this 4-day movement. All right, let's see what we got next. We got the finance, I believe. Am I correct? All right, so is Mr. King he's next with our finance?
He's on here. I'll
All right.
find him.
Hi, David.
Hey, how are you?
Well, thank you. What you got for us tonight?
Can I have access to share my screen, or do I have? Oh, there it is. Sorry, it's been a while. No, it's disabled.
Okay, I'll get it for you. Make. All right, just give it a second, David.
Okay, got it. Okay, So the January financial statements, so these are reconciled through January 31st. That's 7 months through the fiscal year. 42% overall is kind of what you want to see. I'm just going to go over the notes from the agenda. Basically, if you have any questions, please stop me at any moment. I know last month the notes went over the EFA change and how that went about. In January, mid-January, there was a deposit of $160,699 for coronavirus relief funds. That's the second CARES type grant that's come in this fiscal year related to the coronavirus. The ESSER 1 funding up here was the first one, the $381,000. This coronavirus relief funds can be used for like cleaning services, sanitation, like technology devices for learning, distance learning, and so forth. And for instance, I think the MiFi devices are being utilized or paid for with this relief funding put to that grant. And then there's a third CARES grant that should be coming out in the next little bit that has an extended multi-year ability to be spent called the ESSER 2 grant, but that hasn't been announced with allocation or anything like that yet. So that $106,000 came in. Right below it on page 3, where is it? Page 2. I just wanted to note we have this $380,000 here budgeted for early college and special programs. And that's where there are students that are enrolled in Clark Academy and some others that come into James Island, they're in James Island's power school system, so they receive revenue for it. And then CCSD bills James Island for those. And so far, there's not been any billing from CCSD, but they said on the January bill, there will be. And so that should increase the actual activity next month once that's entered. So that's why it's not been spent year to date, though. They're gonna bill the first semester. It sounds like pretty much all at once here in the next month. The other thing I wanted to note was that you have activity, showing up under that outdoor science classroom, $18,000 through January 31st, and that was for some of the design bills. I believe that goes towards that classroom. And then also something that I think will probably be on the agenda later, but we went ahead and put it in here under revised budget. About tennis court maintenance, $30,500 was the quote for some tennis court maintenance that would be coming up potentially if it's approved. So with that said, the total operating net income through January 31st is in the black, positive $1,673,000. The revised budget balance for the operating is $831,000 in the black. And then if you factor in the science classroom, which is a capital improvement, and then of course the building wing is a capital improvement, the bottom line at the end of the year would be $918,000 in the red as you're dipping into the fund balance to purchase or upgrade the building, basically. Did I miss anything? I think that's all I have on that. Is there anything else you want me to go over or any questions on any of that?
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. King? Thank you, David. I think that's good. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving on. The next item on the agenda is the tennis court maintenance.
Just give me 1 second. All right. So yeah, the tennis courts, basically, They've been around for, I guess, since around 2014. They're in need of at least 2 coats of paint. The sand is rolling up through the courts and have to be blown off, and it's a safety hazard. So we're asking for board approval of around that amount to repair to basically maintain the tennis courts so they're safe to use.
Right.
Is that resurface or just repaint?
It's really repainting with 2 coats. It's not resurfacing, which would be a much larger number. So that's when you would scrape off the asphalt, redo it. That would be well over 6 figures to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Is this something that we had bids on?
We received, we asked for 3 quotes. We got 2 quotes, and they're in the executive session folder, so we can review those at that time. This is the approximate cost for it that we'll need approval for. We can't discuss the quotes though openly.
Okay.
Just the being allowed to allocate for it.
So can we table that to, I mean, unless we,
If you'd like to
Going back
table
to-
till after executive session, you could do
is
that,
that
yes.
something you guys would like to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll table.
Just checking, how frequently is this something, not knowing anything about tennis courts?
Well, I guess they're going on 7 years.
Okay.
I guess I talked to Ms. Howard about it. She might be on here, I think.
Miss Howard is on.
I am.
It's not. Yeah, I'd like to hear her. Ms. Howard, could you tell us a little bit about what you need, what's going to be
Yeah.
done and what, why you feel the need is important now?
Right. Well, the main concern is just the risk hazard of slipping and falls that could result due to not resurfacing. It's just super slick, and it's like Mr. Thorne said, the sand or the foundational part of the courts it's coming up, especially when it rains. So obviously we've got a lot of sand going on right now. But I think it's, I'm not an expert on all this, but I do think it's about a 7 to 10 year process, just to keep the courts healthy and maintain the integrity of them. Are there any questions though specifically that I could help answer?
No, that's all I need to know, especially if you said it's safety issue.
It is truly.
It's like
Yes.
playing on clay courts, only not on clay courts. So it's not-
Exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. It's Folly Beach on those courts. So thanks, guys.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions for Ms. Howard?
Lindsay, were they built up to standard at the beginning?
They were. I mean, this is just the typical timeline.
Right.
So maybe we can consider a long-term kind of approach here, but it is due. It is necessary. I mean, at this time, I'm a little concerned for the boys' season without them being done. So
Right, I understand that. I was just wondering if it was the initial makeup. That's why we had to, come back, or is this about when they repainted?
right. Yeah, this is just about the due time that is required for the maintenance of it.
Okay,
Yes.
well, that's good.
Thank you.
Lindsay, what's the
Yep.
turnaround time usually? Do you know how long it takes these to get done, since you're concerned about the boys' season? Is this something that can be done pretty quickly?
It can be, but unfortunately it has a lot to do with the weather and the conditions for when they actually do the coat. So I think we're going to have to just wait until, more towards the spring with warmer weather, like maybe April. So that is towards the end of our season. So I think we can get one more season in. It's just going to be, a little bit worrisome, but I can look into the timing on that if y'all are willing to consider it super soon.
Yeah.
But Lindsay, you've been blowing off the sand for takes you 2 hours to blow off the sand
Yes.
to get the
Yeah.
course playable.
Right. Yeah. Anytime it rains, that's just typical kind of procedure. It's a lot of sand that I have to get rid of. So
Anything you need to get through this, the boys' season this fall, if we can't get it painted until afterwards?
that is a good question. I can confer with the particular group that we're going to be going with if it gets approved, and find out if there's anything they can do here in the meantime for us. That could be an option.
Okay.
Is their season underway now, the boys' season?
It is. Yes. Yes. We are.
It is. I think we'd all like to expedite this, then, knowing that that's a major concern to you and the other players. So,
Right. Thank you so much. Yeah, I will be in touch with a little bit more information on that timeline.
okay.
So you made a motion to table?
Well, I think that now that we've had some
Yeah.
feedback from this.
I can give you some feedback on the quotes, and so can Lindsay, she's still here. It's one person didn't come back with the quote. We asked for 3. One vendor, his quote is higher than the other. And from what she told me is if we went with them, they're going to outsource the job to the same person that we quoted to. So it's basically either go through the first person or a medium person, person in the middle, and pay a few thousand more dollars. So the people doing the work will be the same people.
Okay.
Correct.
I'm guessing the bids were pretty comparable since it's the same
It's the same
people.
people.
One was slightly higher because they're going to make some money off the bidding
Okay.
process.
Yes. How about the original construction, the people that originally constructed?
That's the bid that includes the middleman. And so he's
Okay.
basically, that he would be a little bit more money.
Get rid of that.
Nice job, Ms. Howard.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Well, of course, I'm glad to table it if everyone else is, but I'm from the idea right now that we should expedite this. And if you're comfortable with the bid and the company that's doing the work, and Ms. Howard's comfortable with the type of performance and what they're going to provide, then by all means, that we should go ahead and move toward the vote. Do I have a motion to go ahead and
Yeah.
approve
motion.
this?
Second.
Okay.
BB
Ms.
is
Jones?
Nope,
Go ahead and call the roll of the members.
all right. So we said BB was first and I just didn't hear the second person.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. All right, roll call. Mr. Hayes,
Approve.
Mr. Hatley,
Approved.
Miss BB,
Approve.
Miss Millar,
Yes.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes.
Miss Bennett.
Approved.
The motion has passed.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your input, Ms. Howard.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
Okay. All right, moving ahead, we have review on the COVID data, which I believe is Mr. Thorne.
Yes. So you have a couple of PDFs that are on the charter boards. I'll share the latest one. I think it's,
210.
there it goes. So this board's a little slow. Overall, the trend of cases in our state is declining, and in Charleston County. So that is definitely good news. It's definitely there's a strong correlation with Thanksgiving and the holiday break during December that caused a spike in the cases. It might show up here. It's kind of spinning. There it goes.
I believe, yeah, we have the same report.
Mhm.
Yeah. So 210, actually, that's pretty dated by now, but these only come out so often. So 493 was the number of cases per 100,000. Because the rate is going down, it's low in that area, and then medium is just below 10% for the percent of positive cases. You have similar data from the week before, more recent data. We can find on DHEC. As far as the JICHS COVID Connect, so the cases in our school, this is from our website. So this is updated daily by our nurses in the clinic. We find February. There it is. So total this month, 13, January, 38, in person plus 8 more virtual. So clearly the breaks from Thanksgiving and over December, when people were socializing more, caused a community spread of COVID amongst our student body. Year to date, here it has all the months right here. I guess I should have gone here to begin with, I guess. You can see the obvious trend there. So definitely going in the right direction with our own numbers. Again, there's been 0 cases of spread in our school from student to student, and 0 cases of spread from student to teacher. And there's been 0 cases of student to teacher across the entire county, across Charleston County. and there's only been a few cases of student to student while in school. There have been cases of students in athletics who've gotten positive COVID connection.
Mr. Thorne, are you going to talk a little bit about that as far as the baseball or the softball issue? I mean, is that something that's
Coach
back in school
Holland could
now?
hit on that, but we've had some sports teams had to quarantine. We've had a few positive cases go on here and there. When that happens, and a protocol has to be followed. So most of the sports teams, from wrestling to basketball, girls and boys, and softball and baseball, have all at one point had to quarantine because of COVID. And then they're just now coming out of a quarantine. The overall numbers in Charleston County, you can kind of see the total cases year to date. The schools I look at most closely would be West Ashley and Wando, and maybe Lucy Beckham. So Wando's got 141 cases. We're at 105 for the year. And West Ashley, I want to say, is 76. So our numbers are consistent or even slightly higher than what you see in the county. But the basic thing we've learned this basically going to the holiday break, was we didn't know how things would go on in schools. I remember even Dr. Eckhart from MUSC and saying she kind of thought that schools would be a super spreader. There would be spreading events and there would be closures and things would happen. And it hasn't really played out that way. It's been proven that it's spread in schools has not occurred. And it's basically what community spread has been the cause for most of our cases, whether it's social events or sometimes athletics, but mostly it's not even athletics. It's been kids who play in the same sports team also socialize together. So, some of the contact tracing, it goes back to they spend time outside of the sport together doing things that leads to that transmission going on. So that's the basic thing is it's basically community spread. And the school so far, it's been safe with mitigations in place like plexiglass. Obviously, wearing the mask is the biggest thing, the cleaning, the disinfecting.
I had a question.
Yeah.
From a discipline data, have we had a low rate of compliance with or not non-compliance with COVID procedure, masks and?
Pretty much it comes on the masks. And so far, no one's been forced to be remote.
Good.
So we've had some kids who've had some talks with and some basic referrals about reteaching why we're doing this and to take it serious. And we explain if you don't comply, then you're going to have to, go home for a day. Then it could be longer if it persists. But the kids have been good. They're getting more brazen now than they were before. They're going to, especially at lunch, they'll be more drooping of the mask below the nose kind of thing, or they want to stand and they want to eat.
Right.
And they buy a drink from the vending machine. They just want to hold it in their hand. It gives them a license to keep their mask down. So they can just sit in groups and we tell them you can't stand with a mere mask off. If you're going to do a mask break, you have to sit down and be distant. But they just, buy a bag of chips or buy a soda and you can just take your mask off and then just ignore COVID-19 protocols. That's
It's
kind
a
of
ticket to have your mask on.
yeah. So that's the battle we're kind of
But it
fighting at
hasn't been a
lunch.
big problem for you.
Yeah.
I think that's a concern that that people have, parents and educators, that when we bring in more numbers, that there's going to be a higher rate, because that makes sense, because you're going to have more numbers in the buildings. That we're going to have people that are going to be students are going to be non-compliers because they really may not want to be there as much as their counterparts. But again, just like anything else, I remember when it was the ID situation. It was they're supposed to have it on their person. They had it in their pocket. It was just a way to not conform. Be a teenager, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's better to deal with wearing a hat or a hood versus not wearing a
Yeah,
mask.
I just wanted to make sure
Right.
it was not a
That's a good-
problem
that's a great
from our
question.
data, that
Yeah.
it
No,
was not a
it's-
current problem, so that your administrators aren't running around.
No, and the kids are behaving like
discipline-wise with COVID.
they're behaving like typical people also,
Yeah.
because adults do the exact same thing.
Sure.
So kids aren't being bad. They're just being human beings.
Right.
And you can go to the Harris Teeter or wherever you go and you'll see the same kind of issues that we see in school. So, but overall, I think we're all very pleased with how the kids have behaved and conformed with
Good.
what we expect.
good to hear.
but it's ongoing diligence, trust me. So those are the COVID numbers.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Thorne on any of the COVID?
Tim, on the in regards to the 14-day quarantine outside of the athletes, are they now recognizing the shortening the quarantine that DHEC and CCSD protocols in place, like negative testing after 7 days you can return, no symptoms, no testing after 10 days you can return? Is Leidy or Connie recognizing that yet, or
Not currently, no.
has that been a question? I mean, it
No.
was frustrating for me, to be honest with you, when it happened to my son, and they said he was an athlete, so 14 days. But I still don't understand why he couldn't go back to school shorter period, because that, to me, that's the separation. And I know like Magnet and other schools are doing and it's actually it's DHEC and CCSD protocol. There's a shortening quarantine section.
I was
in there.
told that you couldn't do that for athletes.
For school versus athletics? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying, a shorter time for?
But I don't
school?
understand why. You mean, it's almost like that. I could see the athletics 14 days from the sport event.
Well, you can't quarantine from a sport, but then come to school though. I think quarantine is quarantining. So yeah, if you're quarantined, you have to be at home. You can't come to school.
So irrespective of the athlete, just a regular student, are they allowing the shortening of the quarantine period?
On a case-by-case basis, parents can request that.
Got it.
But my understanding is if you're an athlete, you're considered high risk. Therefore, it's the 10 days that's from CCSD. That's how it was told to me, was that they're considering athletes, you can't shorten it. For a regular student, you could. And we just, on a case-by-case basis, we'll entertain that. For the most part, it may not come into play very often because we've only been hybrid 2 days a week. So if we're to really affect, would require like the exact day have to match up and block their 2 days they've been coming to school. So it hasn't really come up. The only real contention with quarantining has come through athletics.
Anyone else? Questions?
Is there somewhere where we can find read the guidelines, like when it comes to that? Because I still don't understand it really either. I get that we have to quarantine for 14 days and I understand all that. I mean, I'm in the medical field, but it still seems like it still seems a little excessive for.
I'd have to talk to Connie and Leidy about the latest ones because they change them so frequently.
Right.
So.
Because I get because it's usually 5 to 7 days and you can test if you've had no symptoms and then you can return back to activity day 10. And I get but it's a whole, even though there was very little contact, we all dropped down and he was quarantined for 14 days and he's been fine. And I know that might not be everybody, but it still seems like, we were in school at home for 14 days and then we're back down.
I'm sure if you just reach out to Connie or Leidy for the latest one. I only say it because the athletic one came out a day or so ago. So
So there is new guidelines on athletics?
the national ones came out.
Do we know can Jeremy speak to those tonight? Or?
He can't during his report. I think it's probably part of his report.
Is the quarantine protocol on the CCSD website?
Yeah.
Is the quarantine protocol on the CCSD website?
Yes.
So we're working with CCSD
Yeah.
nursing
And-
services.
And our nurses, they talk with Ms. Nitz and the lady from DHEC and MUSC and the CDC on a daily basis. They know them very well now.
Yep.
Even the head of the CDC, who's a doctor and an attorney, they're in constant contact with them on a daily/weekly basis, as are all the other school nurses. And they know them by name. They talk to them on a regular basis, and they're constantly consulting with them as a third party to make sure they're staying consistent. So, I mean, what they've done has been tremendous. These cases don't come in when it's convenient. It seems to be really often Sunday night. I can't imagine being home on Sunday night. I'm trying to watch, the PGA Tour or whatever.
Yeah,
Next thing I gotta make 40 phone calls or talk to coaches, and then the amount of hours they're putting in above and beyond at the most strangest of times has just been incredible. So, but they are working hand in hand with the district and following those protocols, and as they evolve with them. So, I mean, I feel blessed to have them and what they're doing for us. And I'm glad I'm not them.
So we'll have Coach Howard. and
Yeah,
Tim,
I
Paul
agree. I
address
mean, the
that.
nurses have been awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
in my situation, I dealt with them probably 5 times in a 2-day period, and they were great.
I know Coach Holland is at are going to, or is at the playoff basketball game. I know it's like 2.5 hours away in Aiken. But we did decide to follow the national standards versus CCSD standard, where they put sports into categories, high, medium, and low, which really affected soccer and lacrosse. Just because it's just been proven so far that practice and games, there's been no evidence of transmission across the world. In fact, I still haven't heard a case in whether it's soccer being played in Europe or what have you, where the teams are giving it to one another. So it doesn't seem logical. We felt okay going with the national standard, which is don't put them into categories, go on a case by case basis based on what's going on, who's exposed to who, treat them that way versus putting these ones in a high risk category and these ones in low. Maybe golf should be in low, but that's the one thing we're not going to do with CCSD. It was a little more lenient than CCSDs in that respect.
Anyone else? Any other questions? All right, we're moving ahead. Let's see, we've got the parent 4-day week survey report.
So I shared the responses with you so you guys could read this on your own time, because there was a lot, the 330 some people responded to it and then they made comments. But the basic stats from the survey are on here. So 329 responded. We have 1,079 in-person students, 73 want to remain hybrid, 256 with like a 4-day week option. So that's 78%. And then around a 30% response rate from all those in person. So then you have the anecdotal comments, which were very much like the public comments, that they wanted to have an option of 4 or 5 days a week, kids need to be in school. There also were a lot of, the comments were very positive, even the ones tonight, hearing, I've seen the public comments, they're at least acknowledging that we're trying as a school to do right by our kids, and they've been polite about most of what they're saying. Just on a side note, we've tried to do pretty good here by kids. And I know I've learned that there's been kids who've been waitlisted the entire semester in CCSD. So they'll say our kids should have been 5 days a week this entire time. But if we'd have done that, we would have had 770 kids at best in our school. We would have had 300 kids on a wait list until we got plexiglass. And that would have been all the way into January, February. So I'm not sure if they know that, although it was put out there at least twice through town hall meetings that I put on for our school, and that we've published out there. So once we learned that CCSD was going to move towards plexiglass in high schools, we got on that and we did that, and now we have it in place. So now we have the ability to increase capacity, and if you guys choose to do that. So there's the basic data. I was surprised to see that actually, 80% want to come back, but actually 20% want to remain hybrid. So that was, you never know what you're going to see. The parents were appreciative to have a chance to have an open comment and just to see what they wanted to say. Any other questions about that?
I think that there's some concern still. I mean, personally, myself, we're going to a 4-day. I think Maggie had a pretty good point, Maggie, that you made on the email about
Yes.
Chromebooks.
Yes, about making sure that we have an adequate amount of Chromebooks for these kids whenever they do come back, that teachers aren't going to have to like switch anything around or
Well, luckily we just got 250 Chromebooks in the last week or so. We've been trying to order Chromebooks like probably everybody else in the entire nation, which is why you can't get them. But we did just get 250 Chromebooks. So I think before getting those, I think if the kids brought the devices in when they already have them, versus leaving them at home and then not having them in class, the technology department felt we were okay prior to that. But I think with the 250 Chromebooks coming in, I think we have enough to make sure that teachers have what they need during the school day. And we also, the ones that already have, the Chromebooks already with the kids now, so that part we already know. That's been handled for a while now.
Well, I know that it's been some of the teachers, educators have brought it to my attention that, it's going to be different. I think we all know that it's different. There's no more passing around papers anymore. And that even if a student has a, laptop or Chromebook type device, teachers are still looking for software to be part of the Chromebook, so they're hoping that all these Chromebooks that we're going to get can be set up so that they can be used as a classroom tool, because it is going to be different. There's not going to be the interaction that we used to have. So I know that's a big concern. So when you brought it up,
teachers don't use
think
paper or handouts that much now.
They've been using the Chromebook since.
Yeah, when you go to a class, it's pretty customary to see a kid on a Chromebook going on to Canvas and doing an assignment and submitting it that way.
Right.
Also, they can talk and interact and do stuff.
I agree, but I just want to make sure there's enough, because that's been brought to my attention that there's not, we have them now, but they're not set up yet totally, but there's not enough in the classroom. Some of these teachers are saying right now, to have these kids all come back for 4 days. If you're telling me that, we're going to have these 200 and something, however what we've ordered, they're going to be ready, then that's a huge difference.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Well,
I think that's really
we've
important.
talked with the tech department about this, and the Mr. Drake, he works hand in hand with them because he helps distribute the Chromebooks because he's the one that signs them out. That with this new shipment, we're in a good place.
Okay.
We're going to keep trying to buy more. It's about availability, not about the money. The CARES Act has been covering the cost of this, actually, even though we wanted them regardless. We need them out. We need them now more than ever.
Right.
So is that something that we're going to continue to purchase as we go through?
Yes.
Because is there a way to find out how many each department needs to feel comfortable in staffing each one of their classes with?
The department chairs keep track of what they have, and technology has access to that. They know exactly how many Chromebooks we have in this building, where they're at. They have an inventory, and they know exactly where they're at and which department has how many and et cetera. I mean, they're meticulous about keeping track of their devices.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I guess it's, not having to kind of switch being able to have their classroom covered at any given time without having to run here, run there, and to switch Chromebooks around or.
Well, I do. I see Coach Spivey for one, because he's got serious guns. He's carrying Chromebooks back and forth. So he has done
I
that.
think that's the point. We want to make sure they don't have to.
No,
Right.
I'm
That's
confused.
the thing. It's just
Students
making sure
aren't
everybody
given
feels confident that their kids have.
Anyone
what they
who
need.
requested a Chromebook got a Chromebook.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Aren't
Yeah.
students?
This
because I
is
know in the
about-
other schools, every student who needs a Chromebook has gotten a CCSD Chromebook
Yeah,
if they need
Give or
one.
take.
So
or James Allen Charter. Yeah.
But remember, they're not always bringing them, just like kids are not always going to bring
Right.
them, so that it seems to be a very important.
It's important the
Stay
kids
with
bring
these-
their Chromebook with them when they come to school,
right,
which
Sure.
an
will-
agenda.
that is part of what
Well,
tech
we
has
can hope,
said.
we hope so. I mean,
And they
as
have to
far as
bring
that
them
goes.
charged. If you go to any kind of school that's 1-to-1,
Right.
you see these little, kind of like, take your hat off signs or wear your mask signs. If you don't show up to school with your Chromebook charged and ready to go, then it's a referral almost, because kids will, a way to engage in classes. Oh, my device is
Right.
not charged fully or
Mhm.
not charged at all. So
Well,
the
hopefully.
Chromebooks have long cords
and
and
that's
they have,
been the
and the
protocol
batteries
in
tend to last a long
online
time.
schools.
Hopefully we'll have enough for everybody, even if one or two are, not there with their Chromebook. So I think that.
I mean,
that's-
250 is a big jump, because we were
Yeah.
around 1,300 before.
Mhm.
So 250, you're looking
But
at,
what, 400
one's
student, 4-day week is about 800 students.
it's, well, based on what we just saw here,
Yeah.
I mean, we know that
Point.
256
You take away the,
going to come
Visual.
back,
256 Chromebooks.
but
In
that's,
addition to what we had.
if that trend were to play out and continue, it would be around 800 kids,
That's-
yes.
That's the number we need to make sure we can take care of Chromebook wise. I mean, I think the ones that are going to be
Well,
in the
those,
classroom.
and those
yes.
800 kids, if they have one home, need to bring it with them. That's,
Okay.
yeah,
Right.
we can't duplicate that. 'Cause that's just not practical. And it's not really,
And if they went to middle school on the island, it was 1-to-1 and the expectation was to have it charged at night and bring it in the
right,
morning.
exactly. And based on availability, we'll be 1-to-1 as soon as they're available. We've been trying to order 500 since the start of the school year. And we just now got the 250 that we got. So it's not been a lack of trying. And they've tried other vendors too. They're not like, waiting on one vendor.
Okay. I just think that's very important to be able to feel comfortable about going into a 4-day week. Is that if you're going to have 800 kids in this building, then they have the access, whether that's theirs or not, that there's Chromebook availability.
You're
That's
right.
been noted by several educators have brought that to my attention, and I know that to be.
It's especially important when it
It is
comes to
important.
English and social studies
And I know
and
that
health
you
science,
validated that, so I
CTE,
agree.
math. I think they do actually, do more paper pencil because it's math.
Okay. All right, let's see where we go. Does anyone else have any questions about the survey or any other concerns you might have? Or expectations, things that maybe people have talked to y'all about that are, I'm curious on your input on whether your students are ready to come back and what you're hearing from the community.
I am hearing an overwhelming amount from the community that they want kids back in school, especially because many of us live and work on the island, and we're at about 85% capacity on James Island in the rest of the schools 5 days a week. So I think that's, even though we are a charter, we're also a neighborhood public school with, and so I think what I'm hearing is an overwhelming want and a need, and similar to some of the comments, the climate and, the social issues, we can't control that. We can't control the past. I think that's going to be a charge going forward, especially if there's a leadership team and being creative. But I think from a safety protocol,
And instructional.
life has continued in every other facet.
Recently, Dorchester 2 went from a hybrid model to 4 to 5 days in person.
Yeah.
Because they just got plexiglass over the holiday break.
How long have they been on that schedule?
They just started in the last week or so.
Last week,
Yeah.
just started.
James Island Elementary has 73% capacity since November.
Carson, are you working with your athletes right now? Are y'all doing any
We
training?
are.
I'm just curious, conversation, are they ready to be back in school? That's a
Some
different
are, some
perspective.
aren't. It seems that upperclassmen are fine with the way things are.
Yeah.
There's a breakdown.
Seniors,
Lowerclassmen
yeah.
going from middle school to high school, obviously they're struggling with making friends or interacting with people. So
Because of the virtual, but then that's also a ninth grade transitional thing too, somewhat.
Right.
I just think it's important to I'll take perspective of the student too, because a lot of
Absolutely.
time that's,
Yeah.
and that's why I thought that survey that those kids came up with, the students came up with, was important, because it does show you where they are right now, and that there's a lot more going on.
I think student voice is extremely important. I think we referenced it a little bit last time, and I appreciate the parent survey. I think that was a great tool, and it really helps kind of not only decision making and looking at some data, but also just getting a feel for the culture and the climate. We know a lot of it is out of control, but I think student voice, especially really going forward with planning, a healthy climate, and I mean social emotionally, within what we are capable of doing and how we can support your leadership team in doing that. I think the student voice is going to be integral. I honestly have some concerns about the academic drop off, and I'm hoping that the leadership team and the teachers will, going forward, in terms of whether it's credit recovery or just we all know that even with phenomenal teaching, when you don't have that person-to-person 5 day, there's going to be some kids, particularly your at-risk kids, who are going to struggle more. But I think that's going forward again.
The failure rate from first semester for in-person students was I want to say 8.9%, 8.9. And then I think the virtual academy was over 17%.
Yeah. Is that inclusive of Ingenuity?
Edgenuity, yes.
It's inclusive.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you just told me that's not now just.
And probably kids who are in higher level classes are not ones that typically they won't get an F or accept an F.
Right.
You know, you don't get many Fs. You
They're
don't
more
get many low
independent.
grades in an IB or AP
Yeah.
class.
They're
You may get some
independent learners
Cs.
by,
So I would say we have the stats and it's all broken down, but it's got student names on it. So I can't share it. But CP kids, no doubt, are struggling the most.
yeah,
For sure.
that would make sense.
And the other demographics, fall in line. SES, minority students.
I think that's expected. It's also concerning.
It is concerning. Again, it probably is following the trends, but that is something, if we can support you all.
Yeah, I don't really want to take away from, I know we're supposed to move ahead and I respect that, but I'm just concerned, I'm just curious, Ms. Ballard, what's your thoughts on, on the failure rate? What are you seeing? I mean, is it expected with this whole first year transition? Are you concerned with the virtual number?
Any of us know what should be expected.
Yeah. She's in the
I do
trenches.
believe that the high failure rate in virtual academy is probably due to probably was basically an utter lack of engagement. Instruction was completely different in those classes because a lot of times it's not necessarily teacher-led instruction, it's instruction through engineering. And that's why those CP kids, I think, are struggling so much, because along with the lack of relational capacity and relationship building with those teachers,
Yep.
There's also not the added benefit of teacher-led instruction like they need.
That's what I thought. Thank you. That's what I was.
There was a large swing of kids from the virtual academy to in person as well. We had about 150 kids flip flop from one to the other. I would guess that they didn't have success for those who left the virtual academy. And some kids have excelled virtually. Some higher level kids, and they like
I
Carson
probably
kind
have
of said,
about
they don't mind it
Right.
sometimes.
I probably had about 12 different parents over the last month contacting me about this, and grades was their biggest concern, and it wasn't pass fail. It was honors kids going from A to B or B to C, and they were absolutely determined that it was due to the lack of being on site. I mean, in their opinion.
Face-to-face, it's interacting. Right?
Yeah.
Well, we all know, we're all living in Zoom, that having a meeting and doing breakout rooms is a good option, but it does not capture. It's why it's so fortunate that we can meet like this, and in some situations with social distancing, meetings can be held, because you lose that ability to gauge.
Yep. Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody. Does anybody else have any other thoughts or questions?
I've taught driver's ed to about 50 kids this past 3 months, and all of them, they want to be back in school full time. And then I teach a lot from West Ashley and Lucy Beckham and Wando, and they all, we're so glad we're back in school full time. Now, it can't be a feel-good survey. We got to have a factual survey here. And for the safety of the kids, and that's what we have to decide: safety versus, if they, make them feel good or whatever. It's more important about their academics and their safety, and then they want to see their friends.
That's why I thought that survey was so
Yeah,
pointed.
it's a great idea.
I agree. That was really good.
Did
It
y'all
was
have
good.
a chance to look at those questions?
Yes.
Yeah, I just thought it was really, and for those young people to really take the time and be excited about wanting to do that survey.
They asked great questions.
Yeah, they did.
Not
And I think
one-sided,
that just
not
puts a pulse on
biased
them.
or anything else. It was great.
Yeah, well, I hope that maybe we could expand that. Maybe
Yeah.
that's something leadership could,
Yeah, we'll take the
You know,
leadership.
Shelley, I'll give you a copy of that. It's just a really,
So Shelley, it's actually a different survey. It's a survey that was created by some students
Yeah.
that was submitted
It's awesome.
to Ms. Millar through a parent. And it's a very impressive survey.
They're still smart.
Now, I have not necessarily seen it, but I also do know that within some departments, there have been student engagement surveys distributed. And so department heads a much better idea of what's going on in their departments as far as student needs.
Mhm.
I guess I did have one question about, I've only heard one or two people come to me and concerned about, have we had any trouble with transitioning classes and like people gathering in the hallway? I mean, does it go pretty smooth, or is
The
that?
hallways are very boring. It's,
Okay.
there's usually me and another admin. Most teachers are staying in their room and they've been told they're allowed to do so. You know, a typical year, you ask teachers to be by their door. It's also
Sure.
teaching 101 that you greet your kids and start the day off in a positive way like that. But obviously, we want to be as safe as possible. It's when you look in the hallway, you wouldn't even know it's a bell exchange.
Okay.
It-
I mean,
it's
I just was
shocking.
wondering, that was one of the things that were brought to my attention. Like, if we put more children into the school, like, is there going to be trouble with exchange of kids? And that's why I was asking.
Lunches seem bigger than they were last semester, although the number only went up by,
100.
yeah, I mean, we're 1,100. We were around 1,000 before, but there seems to be more kids at lunch for sure. And we're having to definitely, remind them of protocols and what we expect. Like I mentioned before, with the beverage thing, they want to be able to stand around and just, hold the water as a license to pull their mask down. When I drink water or if
And
I
I
drink
get it
coffee and I'm
too.
out there, I'm always doing the exact opposite. I go like this.
All right.
But they want to go like this and just leave it down and like, Abe Lincoln beard thing.
Kids are kids.
It's gonna be easier when we get more kids back in the building and just, give them go in the PA
I'll
and
do that.
reinforce the idea is you need to take it personal, not to be considered a close contact of someone else. And that's kind of the standard we're trying to go by here, is that you shouldn't be a close contact of someone else.
Sure.
And they have to, and here's the definition. If you're within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more for a 24-hour period, so it's shown that you don't get COVID community spread by going to Harris Teeter and walking past people if you're
Mhm.
wearing your mask. So, the 5-minute bell exchange and having to get where you're going, that doesn't concern me so much as before school is not that bad either, because they're arriving staggered and then the bell rings at 8:15 and they all kind of go. So just as it gets congested a little bit, the bell rings and they all kind of go their own way. We have plenty of people for lunch duty. We have 5 student concerns and 5 admin and security person. And you just got to be comfortable, reinforcing what you expect. And they're also going to behave like human beings. So I'm not trying to portray kids as being anything less than what the adults do.
Right. No, I understand. That was just a concern that was brought to my attention. So.
But on a positive, I heard the disciplinary committee has only had 1 case so far this year.
Yeah, probably record low. I just,
As opposed to,
As opposed to
yeah.
10.
Okay,
well, I
well,
think I did the math with Charleston County, and I think they would have had over 600,000 class changes so far this year. And there's only been 3 cases of spread. And I think it's been attributed to COVID protocols not being followed. So that's just a very robust amount of data.
Mhm.
I think this is the biggest one, wearing the
Yeah,
mask,
it
of
is.
course. Because if you've read the studies about masks and how far things don't go when you wear them properly, it makes for a much safer environment, and everything else, complements that.
first responders been wearing them since the beginning, even before this. So there's that, right? Yeah. Okay, if no one else has any other remarks or concerns, I'm going to move forward to the instructional learning model for board consideration. I think that's from the leadership?
Yeah, so the leadership team met last week and we went through the parent survey and we discussed all the COVID data, kind of like we just did just now. Probably, similar conversations. And we voted for this recommendation to the board that we recommend that we remain hybrid, but offer a 4-day-a-week option to parents. So if you want to remain 2 days, you can do that. If you want to send your child 4 days a week, and we're trying, make that happen. And the thought is it's more work for the school and actually for the teachers, because now you have to keep teaching in a hybrid way versus saying they're all here. Now I'm not going to be Zooming at all. But we also have 23% that it's working for, and they feel that it's safe. So right, if we do this, it means we're offering virtual to those who want virtual. We're offering 2 days for those who want 2 days and 4 days for those who want that.
You got 3 options now. That's what you're saying.
So Tim, do you think that I mean, that's kind of been unofficially going on for some students.
Yeah,
right?
we've had about 100 kids since around Thanksgiving, maybe before then,
Any
who
feedback there? I
reached
mean,
out because they were struggling, and we got them in 4 days a week pretty much for the second quarter. And then that same group, and then it's a lot of freshmen, and also those who filled out this survey, the parents were the highest percentage were freshmen, that they want their kids here. So yeah, we've been working on that list 4 days a week. And if you approve this motion and make it your own motion, we'll work from that list to begin with, because they've already been coming 4 days a week. At least they were first semester. We had to do a reshuffle and a reboot for second semester, and that recalibrates the classes and who fits until we put in plexiglass. And so we'll work on that list, and then we'll work on other requests as they come. And obviously, those who responded to this survey have already made it clear what they want.
So my question would be, is that going to be a determination that parents would have to make and stick with that, or it could kind of ebb and flow through the remainder of the semester?
And if you don't want to come to school, we're not doing this. I want to remain hybrid anymore. We did that first semester. We had people go back and forth in the virtual academy and in person, or they requested to remain remote while being in the hybrid model. Now, if you're not going to send your kid, it's just going to be a parent note. We're not doing, if my kid can't come into school today, well, then that's going to be a parent note, versus, I'm going to go on to Cabo or something. So a lot of it was vacation, or maybe it was they were scared. But if you don't want to send your kid, it's going to be a parent note. And that's how we're going to proceed. We're not going to do the remote thing. Now, if you want to stay at 2 days for now and you want to do 4 days later, we're going to try to honor every request we can. And the goal is, when we go to a classroom, we're just going to see what fits based on the plexiglass and 3 feet. Some rooms range from 690 square feet up to 1,400 or even larger than that. So, what can fit into a classroom, some classrooms may only get to 20 or 22. I haven't been in there to do it yet. We'll start this week. But we're not going to put them, 1 foot apart, and we're going to do 3 feet whenever possible. So, and just based on the class layout, we'll have a classroom capacity for each room. I think Coach Drake, Mr. Drake now, he's pretty much troubleshooted. He only sees about 5 sections or so that he's worried about. So if he's in that spot, I feel pretty good, because he's a pretty smart guy.
He likes numbers.
Yeah, he does. It's going to be a lot of work to make this happen.
So this is something that you would like us to make a decision on,
Yes.
moving forward to what, if I understand correctly, a March 1st.
Yeah, we'll work on this week, and
Implementation.
starting March 1st, we'll work on getting kids in 4 days a week.
So the final thing I want to share with y'all, again, being the board chair, I know you've had people reach out to you as well, Mr. Hayes. I've had several teachers, educators, faculty, and some parents concerned about a couple issues. One being that the number of Chromebooks is available, because it's not going to be the way it used to be. So that's really important. Number 2, the 6-foot rule, which you're working with. I understand that. They want to make sure that's going to be, in effect as much as possible. Number 3 is vaccine. And again, I know it's coming down the pipe. I know we talked about the fact that it's past I believe the first part of South Carolina.
It's in the Ways and Means Committee, and
Right.
it's
And
up
we're
for
1A.
discussion tomorrow at 2:30.
So what was brought to my attention and their concern is that we are charter. We don't have to follow a mandate with Charleston County. Of course, we follow a state mandate, I understand. But can we wait a month to see that the Chromebooks all get set up, that maybe we get the 1A, vaccination, okay. I mean, that's, and, they're saying that they're teaching already. It doesn't matter. They're teaching to 4 kids or they're teaching to, the virtual class, they're there. But they're saying that there is that concern. Some of them have family members that are compromised. Some of them, there's just, I hate to say it, it's just an anxiety and a fear, and I'm just listening. So I'm just that spokesperson for them. And I just want you guys to be aware that's a concern, to these educators that have been around a long time. They're not just the ones that sit there and pushing a program. So just something for us all to consider. That's all. I know we vote independently. So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that. Well, I respect the fact that you've always given a choice. I think that's really important to parents to have that choice. It alleviates a lot of fear.
I worry, this is long-term, medium-term. We are a charter school, and right now the school choice is going on, and the deadline to apply is this Friday. And it's in my report, but last I checked, we had 276 applicants, 172 or 3 first choice. So that's very good, especially it's about where it finished last year. 253 last year was the number of applications, and the first choice was lower than that, 160, 150-ish. So that's a good number leading up before a deadline. Normally that is the trend is for it to be slower than surge towards the end. So maybe that will still happen. I don't know. But if we operate like this as a charter, then also they may opt not to come to this school,
Sure.
as some of the parents said in their comments.
Do you know if for the vaccine,
As far as the timeline, so the Senate, I think it was February 11th, they introduced this resolution. It is, and they voted 112 to 0. So it was a unanimous vote. And then it went to the House, and it went straight to committee, Ways and Means, and they're discussing today. If they get a supermajority, then they don't need the governor's support to sign it. I'm not sure what the exact number is for a supermajority, but it sounds significant. If they don't get that, he won't sign it. He's been in the news saying he doesn't favor the bill. We won't go into the whys about that. So if it does pass, so the way it's worded is, once teachers get vaccinated, and it's a 3-week process, you get 1 shot, and then you come back 3 weeks later and get another shot.
Sure.
And then X number of days after that, all schools must offer 5 days in person. I would, best possible timeline, maybe by 4th quarter, we would have that as an option.
Right.
It's going to be a slow process. If they have to get the vaccines, I've heard, maybe by middle of April, we would get vaccinated with that 2nd shot or so. And then you have X number of days after that. So it would affect the end of the school year. And obviously the next school year would be totally different, because that would be a resolution that's in place unless it's changed.
I got a question. I just want to make sure that we understand. Right now it's blue and orange, right? So it's Monday, Tuesday, 1 caller, Thursday, Friday. So if a teacher, Thursday, Friday, if a teacher has 100, say 50 students, she sees 25 Monday, Tuesday, another 25 Thursday, Friday. We're saying that those 50 kids would show up 4 days. So she wouldn't necessarily see any new faces that week, right? It's just that she would see a certain phase 4 days instead of 2 days.
Correct. Yeah.
So we're not introducing any necessarily.
No.
News.
A teacher, and a lot of the sections are kind of small too, because the virtual academy is kind of large. So they might see 10 on Monday, Tuesday, and 12 on Thursday, Friday. They probably 20% would say, I want to remain hybrid. Maybe it would be more prevalent in upper classmen courses. So they'll see 22 kids, maybe they'll see 18 kids,
Right.
4 days a week, and they'll see some of the kids, the other 5.
Where's that
my
800
biggest-
come from then? Where's the 800 students that would come from then?
Well, right now, each day we have about 540 kids showing up for orange and blue. So if 300 want to be 300 of the orange and blue kids want to come 4 days a week, it would raise it to 800.
they're combining though.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
but
why
you're
I'm
right.
asking the
The
question.
teacher's
about-
already seen the kid. That's correct.
My biggest concern is not to deliver the message where the parent that wants to do it feels like their student has to come 4 days, because we want to encourage, any sort of symptom at all. You can stay home and you can be totally remote, just like you were prior, and you could do it for the whole week. There's no,
Well, I don't want to say this on the record, but I guess it's just a webinar with a board listening. There's no attendance makeup. So, no one's gonna be denied credit based on their attendance. So if you write a parent note, you write a parent note. And I think allowing people to remain 2 days provides kind of a safer option for those who are a little bit fearful, because it keeps the number of kids in the building a little bit lower. It makes them happy, and it makes maybe those who are a little bit, nervous, because it keeps the number lower than it otherwise would be. If we just pulled the plug and said, I think like CCSD would do, you're in person or you're virtual, then that means all 1,100 kids would be in the building.
And there's going to be, if it passes, there's going to be a max capacity on the classroom based on the 3 feet plexiglass. There's not going to be a push to kind of squeeze another one in there.
There are certain classrooms where it says 3 feet or less, and the ones that come to mind, you should just know this. There's computer labs, and the tables. This already goes on in
Sure.
CCSD. It's impossible because the table has 2 computers on it and it's divided in half. You cannot get 3 feet. That would be the only setting where that would happen.
But there's plexiglass.
There's plexiglass in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all facing the same direction. That's the one setting that I know of like that. But we can go to the 2 smallest classrooms that are right up there. I know each classroom square footage now. If those ones, whatever 3 feet works out to be, and then it's still 6 feet for the teacher or more. A lot of, based on where the teacher's at, you can be much greater than 6 feet. Obviously, how you want to arrange your room, most teachers have either the blue X's down, or they have even a line of tape that shows their 3-point line, if you will, that, none shall pass kind of thing. So just everyone's
Creative with it. Yeah.
everyone's got a little bit different deal. That's their choice, and they should definitely do that. It makes them feel safer.
If there is a teacher that's fearful, do they have an option to have less students in their class, or is that something that's case by case? Or
You guys could say that, but if you do that, it's problematic.
right? No, I see that. I'm just asking.
We've had teachers who had 5 kids in a class, asked to have 1 more, who said no.
Gotcha.
They were probably 15 feet apart, all of them. Just, it's how the person felt. We've been as nice and supportive as we could, I think, as an admin team, as a board, trying to make everyone feel safe. I can't think of anything we haven't done to try and put in place to make people feel safe, and gave teachers the option up to date. But if we're going to offer a 4-day option for our parents in a legitimate way, then we have to be able to increase capacity down to 3 feet with this plexiglass. We will probably have to operate study halls / learning communities. Learning centers, pardon me. So if we got a class of 28, let's say all 28 want to show up in a small room, they can't fit with what I just described. So 5 will have to go to the learning center and have to come on through Zoom and be a part of that lesson, and not to be, that teacher needs to figure that rotation out. Potentially, class is over, or maybe class is doing whatever else, then maybe you 5 guys, whomever, can go switch spots, and you can get some in-person time still that day. You get to get creative with it. We've never done this before,
Right.
but other schools are figuring out what to figure it out too. It's just going to take a little bit of problem solving.
And I will say, for my son who has gone to a learning center because he just does absolutely terrible at home, even being in the building gives him a different sense of class and discipline than it does being in his bedroom hanging out on his bed while he's watching Zoom.
It's like
I
being in
mean, so I don't
college.
think that it's a bad thing necessarily to have to, you know, kind of switch out or having to kind of put a learning center aside, you know, kids into a learning center. I mean, I think just the building itself and knowing that somebody other than his mom is going to, you know, be on him.
Yeah, I think being here is really important. We all know, you know, whether it's, we didn't go through this as high school kids because this never happened before, but we all went through it if we went to college. And I'm like, well, I know if I stay in my dorm and try and study this stuff, I'm going to get this far with my friends around. If I have to go to the library, I'm going to be more productive, or go to the hub. You know, you got to find your, and that's kind of, although you're still taking part in class remotely, but
Right.
maybe it's only for part of the period. You know, if I was a teacher, I probably would be like, all right, U5 shift, you know, but
I
that's
just
what
didn't
would
want
do.
parents to think that it was like a bad thing necessarily to have to go to a learning center
yeah,
because
that's-
you think like, oh gosh, if they're going to school, they're just going to go do virtual. But I mean, just speaking as a parent,
Well, that's wonderful because that's only you
Yeah,
can
it's
share that.
environment, your environment.
Yeah.
We know, those of us who are working at home, it's much, working from home and working remotely from your office is a lot, can look different. There's distractions.
Yep.
You know, and our kids are even more distracted by the very nature of their brain development. So the TV, the refrigerator, the stove versus the
So
library.
on this recommendation, Ms. Melody brought up about a possible delay. Did the leadership team acknowledge that too? I mean, did they suggest?
Because of the resolution from the State Department?
Yeah, I mean, do they?
I brought it up. I shared it with the staff too. I don't know if we voted last week. This has been the Ways and Means since then. I remember saying that. And that's all it said. I check every day. And today it finally said that they're discussing it tomorrow at 2:30. So I'm not, maybe this is discussed, maybe it's something else, but they're doing something with it at 2:30 tomorrow. So maybe it leaves committee and goes to a vote. I'm not a politician, but I've been tracking it though.
Our guest tonight is our charter school, correct?
This is Carol Ost, the director of the
Carol.
Charter School Alliance. Hey, Carol.
Can you give us, I mean, you're representing the charter schools in the state?
Membership association.
Right, I mean-
I'll be in Columbia tomorrow, watching all of it. So it's going, I'm crossing my fingers that they will take action and they will move forward with it. But we'll be there to report out.
What are you hearing from other charter schools in the state are they following? I mean, obviously the district mandates, are they following them? Are they doing their own thing?
So the great thing about charters is every one of you have been handling this very differently depending on where you're located. So
Right.
we have schools that have been 5 days a week since the fall. You are one of the, I would say, more on the latter end to embrace going back more in person. I knew that I shared with Tim, we did an interview with a doctor who did a study on CCSD regarding going back. We did a podcast with her for an interview, and I recommend I'll share that with you because a lot of it is talking about the research that has been done about the safety. So it could be something you even share with parents that people are seeing that with plexiglass and a commitment to safety, people are wanting to come back. Now you're going to have, as you saw in the survey, which I'm applaud you for doing, because it's the best thing to make people feel that their voice matters and it is their heard. There's going to be some where once the vaccine is in place, which is your 20%, is going to be at risk. But we have found, a lot of schools have gone back. Even one of the last ones to go back in the upstate was Green Tech Charter, and they just moved it about 10 days to go back, starting in March as well. So that is the pattern that we're seeing across the whole state, what we're doing right now.
Okay.
But I think you, based on what I'm hearing tonight, you're offering the most flexibility to your parents, so that they can be taken into consideration, because there is, like you mentioned, about 10% is what I'm hearing when I talk to school leaders, that kids are just not engaged. Right? It's not working for them, and it can range all socioeconomics. It can be from a lower socioeconomic, but I had one principal tell me about his double master's parents, whose kid apparently had become the best at fixed view work, giving time to be what he thought. And
Mhm.
it really was not a game, he was finding, he was in front of the computer. However, he wasn't participating in class, right? So I think that, you know, you are on the right path by offering more than just what you have been. And I think the other thing to look at, like, the board mentioned, your open enrollment is, you know, 26, I think ends, March 26th. So if this is something that you're gonna find future parents are gonna be concerned about as well, that if you don't offer it, you stay hybrid too much, it might be some students that you're gonna lose. So I think that would take that into consideration, what message that you're sending to the community. However, making sure that the teachers still feel safe. And I think, you know, by allowing them to define their space and customize that behind their plexiglass shields, you know, whatever makes the person feel comfortable. But I think you've done everything I'm hearing tonight is you're spot on by doing everything right, but listening to your community, because every community is very different. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, you are the pulse of that. So there's, Mhm.
But I do know that the ones I spoke to most recently, their concern was that 10% that they will try and track down and find, and time making them aware of the fact that if you don't start putting in work, you're not going to get credit at the spots.
Thank you. Does anyone else?
That's
I'm
good.
sure she's going to talk. You're going to give us a little more information.
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah. Well, no, it was just it was a great time for that. So I appreciate that. Okay, well, at this point, I know there's an option for us to go ahead and vote. So there's that. I mean, to stand with the leadership team. Again, I would like to have someone else, you know, discuss what their feelings are with that motion other than myself.
I'm prepared to make a motion to vote with the leadership recommendation.
Jody, is it the way you can, she's, okay. I just opening it up.
I think she's doing a temperature
Discussion.
check. She's just checking out their opinion.
Okay, well, there's been a motion made.
Well, she was prepared to make a motion.
Yeah,
Okay,
I didn't know if we had to.
Do you
cover
want to
that.
make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Just making sure you guys do what you want to do. You guys are the bosses.
I just wanted to not mess up the agenda.
all right.
Yeah. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so Ms. PB, Mr. Hayes.
We do have a second then.
You're free to discuss.
Okay, is anyone else? I mean, I think we've kind of really opened this up and talked about it. I mean, how about you, Coach?
No, I'm
Anything
good.
else that
I'm
you,
good. Nope.
Carson?
I certainly agree that I feel like we should wait until a vaccine is available for the teachers.
Okay, I appreciate your candidness. I mean, that's what we're here to have this. I follow suit with Carson on certain, it's very hard. It's a two-edged sword here. You know, it's really tough, but I understand the part about the kids wanting to get back and needing that whole, you know, they're hurting, a lot of them, but then I also hear that side of, you know, this is so new and this is so scary and, you know, can we wait another month? But then I understand your point and, you know, again, you know, we're open enrollment right now and I understand it's about safety. I get it, but all these things play, they all play a factor. And I just want to make sure we're all educated and comfortable with what we're going to decide. Sure. I believe there's already been a the administration's already kind of set a date for that, if I'm not
You guys
mistaken.
are, you guys can make your own motion. And when we talked in leadership, this is just a generic,
Target leadership, but the motion we passed does not include time. Just includes make a recommendation to offer the 2 4 day. We did talk that it could be done as soon as March.
So what about those students that were 4-day in the fall? Would they be able to start? Because they received an email from administration saying, please wait until
yes,
possibly March 1st. Would those students be able to come back?
that's what we would like to do. We would, the APs have to go through that process and look at their schedules and make it happen so that it's safe. So, to just, can't just say the bell's gonna ring at 8:00, everyone just show up and hope things are okay. So it has to be done in a systematic, organized way. So we would like to start March 1st with the list of just over 100. I think it's over 100 that were 4 days already, during this, basically the second quarter, that want to come back 4 days a week. And then we'd like to go to this list here next and work from there. And I think we can advertise openly that it's an option. I think the survey kind of did that. If it says pending board approval, so if whenever this comes to pass, whether it's this month or some other month, that's what it's implying. But we'll, take care of that, the first list, this list, and then put it out there for public consumption after that.
Is there a way, do we get to review any of the questions that go on the thread as we talk? Is there a way to do that? Or is that something that's just kind of,
You mean on the chat?
mm-hmm.
No,
We always do public comment through that Google form, the chat.
they wouldn't be speaking if it was a live board meeting.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
The parent comments will be put on minutes because it is still a public forum, even if you don't have that forum, it's just a person's name, what their comments were.
I think she meant the chat.
Yeah,
Not
we
possible to
we
chat.
can't do the chat.
Okay. Okay.
So you're saying that we can approve the leadership team's recommendation of going to a 4 days option, but not stipulate a timeline. We could just acknowledge the fact that you guys will work a timeline or you'll come back to us with a timeline, but we can at least,
You can say, March 1st, admin will start working on the, with the students that were 4 days a week, and then we'll phase in other students.
and that could
afterwards.
alleviate some of the concern of the teachers.
I
But
don't think the
still,
March 1st timeline alleviates the concern. Of it.
well, it would just be
They
for
were
the
here
100 that's
before.
already been doing the 4
We've already
days.
had some
Okay.
of them back 4-day. in the
So I'm
fall.
just thinking of a way we could actually potentially gain, some positive from the school choice folks to say that we are going to go 4 day, but not necessarily nail down and make it immediately.
Jody,
I was gonna say, it seems that from what it said in there, that the parents that are with the school choice are wanting to make sure that the next school year that we are going to be in our regular model.
Right.
Because they have kids who are not even in the building, they're in 8th grade. So you had 4 comments that are talking about what's happening for the 22
I agree.
school year.
I agree. And that's what was,
So-
that was the point made.
So
But the survey responses to the one that we sent out also
A live,
had a lot of comments that I shared with you all to read. One, the very last one was, my child goes here in the 10th grade. My other child's in Camp Road 8th grade. If James Island operates like this, then my kid's not coming here.
Again,
There
good and the bad of being a charter school. I mean,
Well, I think that
however, we
I
are
think that-
also a neighborhood public school. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of students who are here, not because it's a charter school.
exactly.
well, I think we may even lose, we could potentially lose some
Yeah,
James
two-edged
Island
sword.
students as
Yeah.
well. Because they have the option of going to a school choice or just transferring.
So we were, just to confirm, so we would phase, so we have the 100 students that have already been in school and for 4 day for the first semester. And we would go through that list.
Yeah.
And then we phase in more kids as we see where they're placed, or is there a set number on that? Or is that like, we need to figure out where everybody can go and this isn't gonna really happen until,
Well, I know that the APs will do the actual legwork of doing this. They want to go through the list of 100, which leaves pretty much around 150 left because those 100 people also filled out that survey. Mostly duplicated responses there. So work through the list of 100 kids that have already been here, work through the list of the 156 or 100, whatever that remainder is, and the list that have responded. And that's probably 2 weeks right there. First week would be the 100 kids. The next week or so would be the ones that responded to the survey. And after that, we'll just take it as it comes, because it's based on, it's like being at a restaurant. Who's going to order the food at Chick-fil-A? We need people have to show interest. They want to come back.
Can we possibly make a vote to go forward with 100 with the 4-day, and then try to gauge for the next group based on the vaccine possibility? We'll see what happens, because it is a concern. It is just like Carson said, it's out there.
There's been no case of spread to a teacher.
I understand that, and I respect that, but I just know that if you're in the classroom, and I'm former educator, and that's where your head is, that you have a family member compromised, or you don't do the level of excellence that you can do. So I'm just trying to play both sides and just make sure if we can alleviate some fear. I'm all about 4-day. Don't misunderstand. I want to get back.
Yeah, I think these people that responded to the survey, that the resolution that's going to come from the State Department, it's going to probably be in mid-April, maybe even into May when it comes to pass. Which our school year ends like June 17th or 18th. Graduation is June 18th. Which exam week is going to last like 3 weeks because of the orange and blue days going on and EOC. So you're looking at, you come back in May, you're going to get 1 month of school. You guys could limit. We could, we have, as of right now, we have 256 people that responded affirmatively, and those 100 kids are probably in that bin.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I have this. So y'all have leadership recommendation before your model. The discussion is having people based on the needs and the states there. The first phase, 4 days from last semester, and the second phase based on admin and school availability. I'm just making sure it's done.
In leadership, we have any, you're going to come back and talk about that, or is that just going to be kind of phase in on, because that's probably next month, like you said. You think you'll phase in before our next meeting for the whole group? 2 weeks? Is that your? We're
We'll
going to
try,
be
yeah.
back here.
The vote was 19-0 leadership.
And the leadership team represents,
One department did vote that she is not going to get into the meeting, and I received a text message after the fact, so there was one no vote.
Oh, it was 18?
Still passed.
It was 8. So it was 18-1 then?
So I'm not real smart, but there's all that we're affecting is the teachers here. If we have the Chromebooks, right? Because they have their choice. They could stay 2, they could stay hybrid, they could go 4. So the parents, they got whatever they want.
Right.
But it's the teacher. What we're concerned about is having the Chromebooks and the teacher's response to having more students in that class.
Yes. Yes.
And it voted 18-1 on the leadership.
That's the representation of the teachers.
It's supposed to be the representation.
Right. It's supposed to be.
I asked that clarifying question last month.
That's another can of worms, but yes.
I don't know, have we surveyed the whole faculty?
Have you?
We were going to survey. They wanted to survey them after we did the parent survey, and we didn't.
You haven't surveyed the whole. You surveyed the leadership team.
But there's been no school so far is saying, let's survey all the parents and just do a pluralistic vote of how we operate, or let's do a pluralistic vote of for our staff how we operate. You do a pulse check, who feels safe coming to work and not coming to work. Did that twice.
Yeah.
Surveyed them in
so,
October.
So it seems like.
But decision making happens at it's like our government. We have leadership, we have board, we have executive branch.
Well, I think we can move forward with Jody, the verbiage you read, I think leaves it to the admin to phase this in correctly. Is that my
I just want
understanding?
to make sure since this is going out phase will be the 100 students that have 40 from last semester, and that we will phase in the next group as soon as we all do the processing stuff.
Okay.
I'm just trying to put everybody's words that we're talking
Mhm.
together. So I'm not trying to copy each other.
No, I
Because
think,
I like.
I think that's a pretty
So they
good
want-
evaluation of what was said.
I agree.
Okay, all right.
I agree.
No, I appreciate it. Any thoughts? Anyone else? So we have a motion and we have a second. So I think we need to take a
Roll call.
roll on the vote.
Okay. Vote on the instructional learning model. Greg Hayes,
Yes.
Tom Hatley,
Yes.
Tim Miss Millar,
Yes.
Mr. Carson,
No.
Miss Bennett.
Yes.
The motion has passed.
Did you get your vote?
I didn't vote, but I
Oh.
motioned.
I'm so sorry, Miss Carson.
Sorry,
Miss
vote.
Phoebe.
Yes.
Are we done now?
Yeah.
Meeting over with?
That was important, very
I
important.
think we still have more to go, I think.
Sorry, that was a big one. Okay, well, in keeping in with our
Did we lose
fashion
Jeremy to
of
basketball?
Ms. Ballard,
leadership report.
you have 45 minutes.
I will not read the list, because you've seen it very
Yep.
well. I really implore you to please take some time to look through the leadership report, because it highlights a number of instructional wins, if you will. We talk about the difficulty of teaching. Our teachers have done a tremendous feat this year, teaching hybrid and in-person, basically recrafting their entire craft, right? So they're really doing some pretty awesome things with the students, and that's evident in this report. So I just ask that you please take the time to look through that and see the cool stuff that's going on in our class.
We're gonna ask them to do
Yeah.
more.
I just wanted to say I like hearing all of the things that are going on. So
Yeah, it does my heart good.
yes, it reminds us of the positive and the education in our.
Amen.
And the visual, all the pictures are great too. I'm really enjoying looking at those right now too. We don't really get a chance to see them. It's a whole lot more. All right, anyone else questions,
Okay.
comments? All right, we're moving forward to the athletic report.
All right.
So Coach Holland was on here.
He
But
he
he's-
said he went into he texted me here.
Is it
yesterday.
in Hilton Head now?
I'm not here when you all get to me. I'm at the basketball game and inside.
Okay.
Those are some nursing questions about the COVID, but they would have to answer. The quarantining is out of my hands. I have to do whatever they say by law. If you
Okay.
guys need me, then text me and I can ask to walk back outside and get back in.
Okay.
All
I
right.
guess
Well, he
pretty
gives
good.
the report of
That's
the
his report.
sports teams, how
Does he
they,
have a score?
Oh, I can get that too.
so
Yeah, get
varsity
a score.
basketball 7-3 and they're playing right now.
Yep.
Probably in the
Does he
second
have a
quarter.
score for us?
So JV basketball. Girls
He does.
varsity basketball. Wrestling 2-2, third in the region. That was obviously a really challenging sport. Spring sports, all teams are starting their scrimmages either this week or next. And signing day, this is a Google Doc. You can go in there and see more details about the signing day.
BB girls.
COVID issues and contact tracing are the concerns. Obviously, the quarantining, this kind of like a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon kind of thing. This kind of goes its way and affects a lot more kids. Drainage issues in the baseball field and the infield need to be addressed. The tennis courts we've already voted on. Game field maybe need to reside the middle of the season. So after we do lacrosse and soccer, we may have to reside the middle of the football game, field again, pardon me. Those sports really chew up the middle of the football field. And then practice fields behind the stadium need to be irrigated, laser leveled, and resodded. So as part of the construction project over here, you can see these practice fields have been basically demolished, or that field. I've talked to CCSD, those in charge of that project, and they're going to re-irrigate the field, and they're going to resod all the parts that the sod's gone. Hopefully that will be good enough. We may have to add more sod on our own part to get where we want to make sure to laser level properly. So, but the drainage for this wing and the gym is being funneled that direction as far as the project. So that's all lower drainage going in for the new parts of the building. Any questions about athletics?
It's 16-6.
Okay.
Okay.
Us?
Who?
The bad guys.
Oh, bad
Oh,
guys.
bad
So
guy.
Tim, you mentioned earlier about the color coding, the
Yeah, so the CCSD did a high, medium, and low risk based on the sport. I know golf is low. I think tennis is low, but lacrosse and soccer, kind of like football and basketball and such, it's contact sport. Those are in the high risk category. So no matter what happens, everyone is automatically going to be quarantined. We're just going to treat them all, the sports the same. Just go through the interview process, see how the practice and the games were conducted, and then based on that, determine who has to quarantine.
what was softball and baseball? Was that considered?
I think those are medium or low. It's not high. I know that. The only ones that were high were those two.
So would that mean, because right now the varsity, softball was quarantined for 14 days and baseball, JV and varsity. So would that 14-day process still apply?
I think it only affects how we're going to trace quarantining. I'll need Jeremy to explain it better than I can.
I understand the individual's quarantine, but the entire team quarantine is the question, I guess. So I get a lot can they just pull out the individuals that were affected?
I heard they were actually in a locker room. Some of the kids, somebody was actually infected or had the virus, was in a locker room. So that's the.
I don't know if you could do individuals when you're doing a team situation.
Right, they were all in contact.
I just
I
curious.
need Jeremy to talk about that.
But I mean, similar like in college, right? It's the individuals. So
Well, not for Florida State, or they cancel games.
It's just the risk factor.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's millions of dollars for the university.
Yeah.
He has those exact handouts, and they're not.
I will say Jeremy's been awesome accommodating, because he changed the protocol to allow parents to come to the scrimmages this week, which is he got a lot of. I know he gets kind of caught in the middle, right? Because parents are obviously one degree, and some folks don't even think we should have athletics at all. Some teachers, based on that one letter, right? So he's kind of getting from both sides. So
yeah, he did send an email out to all the coaches reminding them about the basic protocol and what they have to do once they learn there's a positive case, after the fact kind of stuff, that you have to go to the nurse within 24 hours, sit down, go through, talk about how you're doing stuff, so that things can be handled in a efficient way and in a proper way, and in a consistent way as well. Just making sure coaches know that expectation, because maybe they didn't.
Okay.
All right. Then we have
We
maintenance.
got maintenance.
All right. So
Marty.
Marty.
Mr. Marty.
So permanent power has been restored to the athletic facilities under the stadium, football concessions, and the facilities maintenance building. The PAC boilers are being repaired. Boiler number 1 is a bad gas valve. Number 2 has got something going on with it, whatever that is. Gas has to be replaced. Those things have been problematic since they were frozen not too long ago. They installed weather monitoring station on top of the science building. It was a grant by Ms. Lyles. COVID plexiglass scenes have been in place and added to desks to match the increased number of students per second semester. And they fulfilled 76 work orders since last board meeting.
So I'm curious, are the plexiglass holding up? There's not any, you know, how kids hang over them and all that kind of stuff? Breaking down or?
The only ones that we've had issues with that have broken over time would be in the CTE wing, the computer labs. They've gotten bumped and they've been broken. Those are the ones that Mr. Edwards made. The ones we had made by the firm, I think, are a different design, a little more, you know, thicker glass, a little better quality. And he did a phenomenal job. He's a one-man crew working by himself to try and get plexiglass in place throughout the summer, but he just a little bit better model with less bumping going on. But in terms of a regular classroom, the old L-shaped design, which is the majority of them, I don't know if one's been broken yet. We have a lot of extras as well,
Wow.
several extras.
Student proof, that's good. Okay. All right, and then Mr. Thorne, your report, please.
All right, I'll be brief. So good news is we are part of an EIR grant. This is Education Innovation Research Grant. So this is what CCSD applied for this back in the fall. They asked me if I would be interested in being part of it because it involves schools in districts 3 and 23. And that would be all the James Island schools. And it's a 5-year grant. We may not be part of the grant the entire time. We hope to be, but we're part of the initial phase of this. And essentially, it provides professional development money towards teachers to work on cultural competency in the classroom, which is exactly what we've been working on for the last year and a half at our school. So all of our PD focuses on that. Either it's about SEL learning or it's about engagement. But the goal is to try and create a bank of PD that is effective in the classroom that could be used across the nation, actually. So it's kind of a research grant. And there's a lot of autonomy given to teachers with this. So each teacher could get up to $1,500 annually for some PD that they want to select from. Then you have to go through and, you know, document and see how it benefits the classroom instruction. So that's great news for us and the district. The COVID vaccinations, we've kind of covered this. It's in the Ways and Means Committee, so it's going to be discussed tomorrow at 2:30, at least according to the website. There is an ESSER 2 that is coming out. So ESSER 1 was most of the COVID money we got already, that $381,000 to help pay for this kind of stuff. There was the Corona Relief Act or fund, which is $160,000. So we've gotten over $500,000 in money to cover COVID-related costs. This is a new one that incorporates more COVID-related expenditures that will go in the next year. So this will go into the next school year, and it will actually include potential to improve facilities, even equipment, such as like air purifiers, things like that. So there's been no formal meeting about this yet, but it's a more bucket of money that we'll have to try and use, and hopefully make our school safer, you know, in the near and the long term. School choice, I've kind of already mentioned. We had 239 applicants and 172 first choice. I think that's closer to 270 now. And this is the basic timeline. So the deadline to apply is Friday at 6 p.m. And then they'll go through and decide how they want to, where they want to go. Eventually late April, they have to decide where they go. And here's our enrollment based on our cohorts, orange, blue, and green. Green would be the virtual academy. So it was around 490 before. That's 462. 1576, that includes our program kids, so early college and Clark kids in there. So we've had nice steady enrollment. For those who are new to the board, we were I want to say 2 years ago, we were at 1570-ish, and we ended up the year below 1500. We lost over 70 some kids. In terms of the budget, each kid is at least $10,000. So if you lose 100 kids, that's $1 million. So those kind of fluctuations are obviously scary in terms of how we operate financially. As far as technology, they're going through E-rate, which is a way to get these bids to help build your infrastructure for internet and wireless. So we have all kinds of stuff we have to upgrade that are going to match the new building. We have to go through and make sure it's congruent, and it's going to be costly. And some of it's part of the construction project, but part of it is on us because it's the existing building that has to be upgraded. luckily we're upping with all the CARES Act money and the ESSER money is some of the tech money that we were going to spend got covered by that. That will help mitigate that cost. Some non-E-rates. So you got 250 Chromebooks this past week on site. They should be on site by end of the week. That was last week when he said this. So they shipped. They've been replacing some old computers in labs and the aging fleet of teacher workstations. Ms. Miley's in charge of the interactive boards. So these kind of boards are the ones that are mounted. And the phone system, luckily, is aging gracefully. Our phone system is still pretty antiquated. But as we eventually, once this new building comes online, they're not going to put in the same analog system that we have. So it's pretty dated. They'll have to get updated. That's 6 figures at least to do that. Construction, no meetings, no updates at this time. As far as busing, the service from first student has been dramatically better this year. Very few late buses or shortages so far. The state pricing, they got the state buses I mentioned before here. State pricing is $266 full price. Most of our buses were paying $133 because we split with the elementary run down to $133. Vendor buses are $400. Those don't get split because they do our own routes. So we're saving a lot of money by having the buses parked here. They're causing congestion issues in the athletic drive during spring sports. We agreed to do this on the pretense there was going to be a bus lot built here, and that's not coming to pass right now. So we're working on a one-way traffic pattern using the bus loop to try and alleviate some of that stuff as it leads towards the field house. But we need a long-term solution for District 3, no matter what, term solution. I've suggested they do traffic studies and air quality studies since they're here, all 23 that they were talking about before. So hopefully they do. That's up to CCSD to do that. They thought it was a good idea. As far as the activity buses, they arrived earlier this month and they went into use, I think, the first day we got them. So they're great. They're nice buses. We're going to get them wrapped eventually. It's a little more branding for James Island. But the engines, especially the upgrade that we did with the engine, really pays off in those long trips. So hopefully in a year or two, we can get 2 more. That would be the plan. All right, that concludes my report for this really short meeting. Any questions?
Was there an update about the situation with Bo in the Charleston County?
Yeah, I do have that for executive session.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have any other questions, comments, or concerns before we go into executive session? All right. Jody, make a motion. Do I go ahead and make a motion to adjourn? Or just
Go into executive.
session? Okay. Okay. Someone please make a motion to go into executive session at this time.
Motion.
Have a second?
Carol, I got food. You want to get a sandwich?
Sure, yeah.
All those are not favor? Everybody, aye. We off here?
Oh, shoot.
We're off, right? Make sure.
That's
Like that California school board that all resigned because they were
They're
hot mic.
Hey, well,
Talking about All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.